Right. Welcome everybody to another StemWave live Q&A. I'm Ben Ceccarelli, our Chief Brand Officer here at StemWave. Today we've got a great provider, Dr. Sam Beugelsdijk from Kansas. I'm excited to talk to Sam because he's had such great success with StemWave. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about his background, some of the things that he's seen in his clinic, how StemWave plays into all of that. So at any point, if anybody has any questions for Dr. Sam, feel free to throw it in the chat on Zoom. And at the end of our little Q&A, we will start taking questions from anybody who posts them in the chat. So I want to welcome you, Dr. Sam. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes.
Awesome. I mentioned, you know, you've had some really great success with StemWave, but we'll definitely get into that. Before we do, though, I want to give people an idea of your background, kind of how you got started and your clinic. So if you could just give us a little bit of a taste of who Dr. Sam is and where he comes from.
Oh, sure. Well, I live in Great Bend, Kansas, right in the center western part of the state. I am in my about 14th year of practice. Started in Manhattan, Kansas, but eventually made my way out west. So I've been here in Great Bend for about the last 7 years. And in our community, Great Bend's about 16,000 population. We've got a number of surrounding communities too that come in. Um, so it's a nice central Kansas town, and see a lot of patients who are a lot of blue collar, a lot of farmers, a lot of people who are kind of hard on their bodies, and so we stay pretty busy just helping keeping them moving and keeping them out of pain.
And what was your journey to becoming a chiropractor?
So um I went to a chiropractor a number of times growing up. One of the experiences was after a trip to the lake with a church group, and I came back stiff and sore and could hardly move. The next weekend was a soccer tournament weekend that I was supposed to play in, and the oh that by that Wednesday I was still in rough shape, and so my parents made the appointment to go see the chiropractor in our town. And from after that first visit, I was probably about 90% better, and so that visit always stood out in my mind. And when then going through college and studying kinesiology and trying to decide what to do afterwards, and it was my dad who said, "Well, kinesiology and chiropractic, that seems to go pretty close together. Why don't you maybe look at that?" And so that kind of got it started and got me going towards chiropractic school. I went to Cleveland Chiropractic in Kansas City, graduated in 2011, and again, I went to college at K-State in Manhattan and went back to Manhattan for those first 6 years or so.
Nice. And I'm imagining like when you first started getting into chiropractic after school, it was mostly like manual therapy.
Correct. Yes. Primarily manual diversified adjusting, and some other small like activator techniques on a small population, but primarily the manual adjusting. Yes.
And what like as you started your own clinic and saw some of the patients that you started seeing where you are, were you bringing in other modalities as well early on?
So, yes, I when I came to Great Bend, and we had an electrical stim unit and a lumbar decompression table, some intersegment intersegmental traction tables we used. Eventually brought in some dry needling and brought in some ultrasound, and so that's all that I was primarily using as far as the therapies go in our office.
And what types of like injuries or pain were you seeing with your patients coming in back then?
So again, a lot of overuse injuries. A big farm community out here. A lot of people coming in with tractor back after harvest, and
Tractor
so
back.
tractor back,
I've
yeah,
never
that's
heard of
what they
that
call it
before.
out here. So, so we were, I mean, a lot of that, a lot of other companies, construction, and just a lot of labor patients coming in with the overuse and over time, that wear and tear on their bodies that starts to show up as you know they start coming in with other problems, degeneration and other number of issues there. So just kind of keeping busy with that, mainly with the community out here.
Yeah. And so for those types of things that you were treating, what did you notice with those modalities you mentioned before that you had brought in and how effective they were?
I they were, I mean, they were good for getting, working on getting people out of um, just kind of helping them getting out of some of the pain that I mean, adjusting very helpful, but there's some cases that uh, just the inflammation and things being too fired up in their bodies that we sometimes rely on the stim or the needling, ultrasound, and and those things would get would help get them by, get them better. Yeah.
And so, it sounds like you have a bunch of these different things that you're using on your patients and some of them are helping. So,
Mhm.
I see that beautiful device over your shoulder right now. What
Yes. So the StemWave.
Yeah, what turned you on to deciding to try it out, or what did you hear about it? How did that start?
Well, so um, with some of those cases, we would do a lot of those different options. We were doing quite a bit of dry needling before the stem wave to help with some of the pain, and for some it was helpful. For others, um, it didn't. For some, it just wasn't making that much of a difference. And some were kind of turn a little nervous about having to do use needles and um, but there are some cases that working on, you can get them better, but maybe up to just a certain point before they decide, okay, it's time for me to go get an injection and just kind of help with that. Um, and so I was wanting to look at options to where, when they get to that point, and we can only do so much, instead of them leaving, is there something else that we could do to, keep them in and help them get better? And so, um, I had a few patients who last year or year before they would ask me about this newer type of shockwave treatments and if I had heard about it, if I was maybe looking at considering at doing something like that. And I said, well, I don't know, maybe I haven't looked into it a whole lot, but then it was probably last fall is when I started to look more serious into it, and I came across StemWave in the process and had reached out, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling for that.
So you had patients that were asking you if you have stem wave or if you knew about it?
Uh, about not necessarily StemWave specific, but for like uh, that shockwave type treatment because they had heard about some other communities that would be like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from here. Um, that they would go, that they heard people going and trying it out in that part of the state. But where I'm at, there wasn't anything close by. And so they were asking, if I had thought about it. My previous coworker had asked me about that too. She had, host family out in Utah, and her family who lived out there received something similar. That kind of got me again interested and maybe kind of looking uh, into options like that.
Well, I love hearing that. I think it's great that now information is so readily available that even patients can go into
Yeah.
the provider's office and say, "Hey, you should really have this. Have you heard about it?"
Oh
That's
yes, yeah. So
so.
um,
I'm imagining that looked into shockwave, looked into stem wave, did your
uh-huh.
research. What were some of the things that you started finding?
Um, well, I um, I came across just uh, a lot of literature out there about the use of shockwave therapy for different conditions, um, and um, and started looking at different companies that had that had those equipment, who had that equipment. And um, so I was kind of looking and reading into different companies, and again, I liked how I liked the organization and the information that the StemWave company had, and kind of what made me want to reach out to them.
And what was it like when you reached out? What was your interaction like when you first started talking to our sales team about potentially getting a device?
Um, so I reached out. I had one of the representatives reach back to me, and we set up a Zoom phone conversation, and they kind of asked me questions, got an idea of what kind of practice that I had, patients that I was seeing, and kind of seeing, if that would be kind of a good fit. And I described to them what I was why I was looking into something extra like StemWave. And again, with having patients that some of those that just in a lot of chronic pain could only get them better to a certain point, and then before they would move on and seek other options. And so I talked to them about that, and how many of those patients are coming in to see me, those type of patients, and if we thought then that I would be a good office, a good fit for StemWave. And it seemed like, talking to them, that it seemed like that was going to be a good option for me.
Yeah, and just knowing that, we do have the 60-day trial, right? We
Hmm.
place StemWave in your practice for 60 days and you get to try it out. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work for you, your patients, you don't like it, you can always send it back without having to pay for it. But that very rarely ever happens. We have a 98% success rate. And it sounds like you saw success pretty quickly with it.
Fairly quickly, yeah. So early November, I think, was around the time frame where I reached out to StemWave, and um, I started the process of doing the online training, watching the videos, and I planned it to where I did the in-person training in January out in Baltimore with Dr. Allen,
Oh, great. Yeah.
uh, and um, and when I came back from Baltimore was the time where I was ready to start implementing it and start using it and with patients. And so the very first week I started using it and promoting it. I had two that we used it on that week. The following week, I think I did about 15, and then after that, it just kept, it stayed continuous, stayed busy with patients coming in because we were promoting it on social media. We were advertising it in our office with information and passing that out to our patients. And patients were, that word of mouth is always helpful. And so, um, and again, yeah, that first week was the two, but that second week, 15, and after that, it's been again consistent to where um, I used it for 5 weeks in. I brought in another staff who could help me with administering the stem wave to our patients because it was getting to a point where my time with stem wave was taken away from my time from my regular patients, and so we needed the extra help to help us with our flow.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
you just said so many great things. I want to like focus on each one for
okay,
a bit, but that you had such quick success, right? We talked about if you want to try StemWave, we let you have the device for 60 days. Within you said the first couple of weeks, you like more than doubled the amount of patients that are coming in.
correct, yes, yeah. So that 60-day trial, and I was kind of kept it on my calendar just to kind of make sure this was going to be a good fit. And yeah, a couple weeks in, it was obvious uh, that it was making a big change in did the way we operated here at my office. And so we had to again add staff. We had to change just the flow a little bit and scheduling, and to make everything still work out well. And it has been so far. It's been going really good.
So
here.
you didn't even need the full 60. You were like sold on it after like 14 days.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I could tell we were moving in the right direction. And um, I just knew it was, yeah, it was a good change. It was a good addition bringing that in.
Nice. You also mentioned, and I think this is a good point to talk about, that you went to group training in Baltimore with Dr.
Yep.
Madison.
Uh-huh.
For anybody that doesn't know and is interested in StemWave, we have these group trainings that happen now all over the country. We have them on the West Coast, we have them on the East Coast. Um, we have them in places that almost everybody, wherever you live in the United States, you can easily get to one. And it's an environment where you get trained among your peers. There's a bunch of other providers there, all different types of providers. What was your group training experience like?
So we had probably about, I'm trying to remember, 15, maybe 15 of us there or so. And yeah, Dr. Allen was given the instruction. Um, he's just a great wealth of knowledge. He provided a lot of the training videos that I did and watched and read. He kind of highlighted those again and went into a little bit more detail with some of the research behind using shockwave and using StemWave. But he covered all of that, and then and then the second half of the training was a chance for us to be able to use StemWave on each other, and he gave us some really good pointers on um, settings and how to hold the equipment and patient setup and what you're looking for to know if you're if you're hitting the right areas and so it was very it was a great just in-person experience just being able to get that just that one day of training and being able to take it back and I was able to share that with I have another doc with me and so I was able to share that with her and then with when I added staff I was able to share that with them just real easy to give those pointers and so but it was a good really good experience going there in person and spending the time there.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we had our videographer out there, and I believe
Yeah.
got interviewed on camera, and
Uh-huh.
I'm very sure that you actually appear in our. We made a little sizzle video from our group trainings, and I there's a lot of footage of you in there. I think you were rocking your Kansas City
Well,
Chiefs.
I had my Chiefs gear. Uh-huh.
Chiefs gear.
We
Yeah.
had another another person there in the training. She was wearing a her Buffalo Bills, and so there was a good that was perfect out there with having us
Hey,
together.
no stem wave fighting. No stem.
Yeah.
Those, yeah, the pulses go in the body, not at each other. So what, I've been lucky enough to attend a bunch of different trainings with a lot of our clinical advisors. I've been to Dr. Madison's training and some of other ones. My favorite thing is when we have our providers, first sign up with StemWave and they go to these group trainings. Some of them are still, a little skeptical about it, but they get to have treatment on themselves. And maybe there's some lingering chronic issues or something that they've been dealing with, and then they get StemWave for the first time. And they have that aha moment. Well, did
Hmm.
you witness any aha moments at the group training that you were at?
Not necessarily that aha moment. People could tell that they felt better. But when I got back here, there's been majority of people when we're doing our mapping visit, they notice some change. They notice a positive difference after that first time of doing it. But I've had a few. There was one lady who oh man, okay, a couple stories. So there's one lady who she had had lower back trouble for years, and she had been adjusted and done PT and injections and needling, and so she came across our social media with StemWave, and so she decided to come back and give that a try. And so uh, we did that on her, and I asked her take a few steps to see how you're feeling. Do you notice any change? We're looking for even a small percentage, 10%. And she was like, she said, "Wow, I don't have any pain." And you could see it in her face, and she was getting a little emotional of just being, of not having the pain like she had had before. And so, that was a really neat experience that we had. Another one, another person who had trouble with her ankle for it was at least a year, had done a couple rounds of physical therapy, and she was getting ready to go back for a third session to try to help that out. And she came across our advertising for StemWave, and so after that first mapping visit, and asked her to walk around, and she said she was 90% better after that first time, and that was a big change that she had felt in over a year that she had been dealing with the ankle trouble. And so that's like a couple stories that I can think of my experience here in Great Bend, and um, and a number of others who have had big changes in what they felt like just after that first time. But again, majority of people when we've done it on them, they do notice a positive difference. There's some change that they can tell, and that's the kind of the neat thing that they've tried it. They come and try it, and a lot of them have tried other options, other things, and so they're like, okay, well, I've seen this, I've seen you advertise for it. I've maybe heard a friend say, yeah, you should go try it, a family member, and so it's been neat kind of seeing some of the changes that we've been able to make on patients that again beforehand we weren't necessarily able to do. Um, Another cool story, I used it on a friend who it was I don't know if you call it good timing, but she had torn her ACL right around the time that I was doing the StemWave training. And they came back and I said, you're gonna probably gonna need to have surgery, but let's at least maybe just help with some of the inflammation and just help kind of get you better. And so we did that on her for about 2 months. And um, her coworkers could tell she was walking better, she was feeling better. She said, I feel, I feel pretty much back to normal, except, I still have some instability issues with my knee, but her pain level and range of motion was better. And she had had surgery. And I heard that she had, where she was starting out after surgery, the physical therapist could tell that she was more advanced compared to maybe the average that was coming in after an ACL repair. And so they were asking what she had been doing. And that was another neat story that comes to mind.
I always love that. I love when somebody has been maybe seeing like a surgeon or someone and they do stem wave on their own and then they come back to see that surgeon. The surgeon's like, What did you do? Like, I don't understand how this is possible." We hear those types of stories all the time.
Yes.
And it's gotta feel good for you. I mean, obviously you got into doing, chiropractic and opening your clinic to help people and to get them out of pain and feeling better. So what does it feel like to know that you have this device now that can really get people out of pain very quickly, and help with things that ordinarily other modalities couldn't?
Correct. Yes. Just being able to have just being able to have that option here in our community. Like before, I think we're probably one in our community here. Um, as far as StemWave goes, I think I know where I used to practice at. Our office back there in Manhattan had picked one up. And I mean, as far as StemWave, that's the closest that I know of. Is about 2 hours away from where I am. But just having that option for patients and um, patients not necessarily realizing, what it is and how it can be helpful, but um, but people who have been dealing with pain for a long time and they've tried it out and it's been a positive, has made a positive impact on them to where they're seeing those changes, and it's nice to be able to have something that we can provide for patients. Something more again besides having to go consider other options and some that are not necessarily wanting to jump into surgery right away. Something to where it can help get them by and get them feeling better. Um, so that's been really nice. That's been great
And
option.
I imagine in your community now you're being viewed as some magical wizard with his StemWave wand that's been able to heal people.
Well, yes, it's definitely the word has been going around. I know. I just talking to patients. I haven't had time to necessarily um, reach out necessarily to other providers, but they've come in and they've said that their doctors, their family doctors, or a podiatrist, that they've heard about it and have asked questions. They say, Ask Dr. Sam what it is, and come back and tell me what this is. So, but again, yeah, the time, I haven't been able to have the time because it has gotten a lot busier, and it's just, trying to stay on top of that, of patients coming in for it.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that you have Dr. Lauren, that's part of your practice
Dr.
that
Lauren, uh-huh.
he does stem wave treatments as well. And I think that's a great point that any provider that brings on stem wave, it's not all on you to do the stem wave treatments. As you mentioned, you freed up a lot of your time by having some of your staff trained.
Correct, yeah. Uh-huh. So that helped out a lot just with our flow, um, and just being more efficient. The After the first couple mappings of me kind of targeting where we need to focus on with our patients, and then I have someone who is full time just assisting in the back, but full time with StemWave, and so she's been able to take over those treatments and continue those. I'm able to I still check in to see how they're doing, making sure they're responding as they should. But that's made things a lot more efficient, and being able to where I can continue seeing my regular chiropractic patients, and not take away from them with adding StemWave.
That's fantastic. And I think a lot of other providers love that aspect of it too, to get that time back and still be able to provide the level of care they want, but it's not all on them. And I know a lot of other providers too that are doing, manual adjustments. Having the stem wave also helps free them from the wear and tear on their own bodies. Have you noticed that as well on yourself?
Yes, not having to be, I mean, um, not having to do maybe as many adjustments, and then stem wave treatments are much easier. I guess sit on a stool or just standing, and just there's not a lot of physical force on my body as with adjusting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked a little bit about like when you get rolled into being a StemWave provider, there's the group training, we went over that. But there's
Hmm.
another aspect that you get assigned your own dedicated client success manager. And
Uh-huh.
that person really helps onboard you and hold your hand through the process of what it's like being a StemWave provider. Tell us a little bit about your experience and what it's been like working with your CSM.
Oh yeah. So Alicia has been she's been helping us. I say yes because I have one of my staff is has helped me in the process of helping me stay organized and getting this going. Lorianne she's done a great job, and so the two of us has kind of tag team together with the organization, and so Alicia has kind of helped us, give us some pointers, some tips on things what to do and resources, and but that's been helpful. She's been able to give us some ideas on promoting the STEM wave, and also we've met with Austin with marketing, and then he's also assisted us um, uh, with with reaching out, being able to reach out more to our patients that are in our system, um, and sending out mass text messages and emails, and so he's been able to help us with that and get that going. So that has helped draw in some patients who hadn't been here in a long time, and so that's been helpful with having their Austin and Alicia.
Yeah, I think that's great to bring up as well. So, like we mentioned, when you become a StemWave provider, you get assigned your own client success manager. That's Alicia, who Dr. Sam is talking about. And then we also have a side of the company that assists with helping you market that you have StemWave to your patients and to new patients. And that's who you're mentioning with Austin. He heads that up. So, we really do offer a lot of support. Some of the other things that people may not know about is that when you become a StemWave provider, unlike maybe some other devices out there, we don't just drop it off and then you never hear from us again. There's a lot of communication. We do have coaching calls, and we have this community where we use a platform called School, where there's resource videos, training videos, some how-to videos when it comes to maintenance and care on your device. And then there's just like these message boards where other providers can share their wins and ask questions. What has your experience been like with the community aspect of being a StemWave provider?
That's been, I mean, that's been really nice having school, being able to log in. Yeah, I was watching at the beginning. I was watching those weekly Tuesday lunch hour videos, and sometimes if I haven't been able to watch it live, if I'm catching up on stuff in my office, I pull that up and I've watched a couple of videos from the past, and just listening to those. They provide good tips, things that you might not have thought about before with using the STEM wave or marketing it. And so uh, they had some good advice with those videos. Message boards, you've got people posting different questions. If someone has worked on this type of condition, kind of what to expect, some helpful tips from that. So that's been nice to be able to just kind of refer to that too, and kind of see what people are saying about with StemWave. And then again too, with all the training videos, um, and the resources, that's been great being able to watch those and pull out information that we could use for social media or for a website, for print, to pass out. So it's very you got a lot of information available to you in school that can help you.
Yeah. And we also provide a lot of like marketing materials. I know when you become a StemWave provider, we send you like this welcome box that has, roll up banners and trifold brochures. And we have available to our providers a lot of marketing materials like, different signage or, cards or brochures, even offer boards you can hang up in your waiting room. Have you been able to take part in any of the additional kind of marketing materials?
Yes. Well, I do have that stand-up banner in our front reception area. And so we've got that displayed out front. Those brochures that we got, I need to order more. We've already run out of those. And um, but yeah, it's been nice being able to when we got the equipment and we got the welcome package and being able to use, just having all that all ready to go, and that was very helpful to be able to start promoting and marketing. And I had received that. I think I received that information end of December, and so I was able to have that out for about a month before we started using StemWave. So patients were already aware that we were bringing in something new, and we were able to communicate with them kind of what StemWave was going to be used for, what could be helpful for, and so that I think that helped us too with being able to um, start on day one and start seeing the traffic coming in.
And were you ever able to get the word out about you having StemWave, maybe like in a local newspaper or anything like that?
Yes. So we've so we were able to publish. We had a we were able to publish in some of the surrounding in our local newspaper, and then some of the surrounding smaller communities and and those newspapers. So we were able to put ads in, a few times about the STEM wave, and then I had a article written up, and we were able to publish that um, in our local newspaper, and that brought in a lot of a lot of traffic. People who read that, who read about the STEM wave, and we had a picture of myself next to it, next to the machine, and so we did get a number of people coming in, or they sent it to their friends or family, and mentioned it, and so that was helpful too, just in just publishing and helping get the word out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we published it in our local print, and having some social media posts going out there. That's also been helpful. Um, we've been having let me think here. I think as far as uh, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours for someone coming here to do StemWave. So it's kind of reached out that far. People coming into Great Bend.
Wow, that says a lot. That says a lot about how you've been able to promote it, but also maybe people's knowledge of how effective it can be. I think that's a great story to share, though, about, publishing stuff in local paper. It's such a cool looking device, just probably seeing you there holding the applicator next to the device and seeing like, stem wave and what it can do. I imagine for somebody who's never heard of it before, it could seem like a really cool thing that they would drive almost 2 hours to check out.
Oh yes, yeah. Uh-huh. So,
Yeah, that's fantastic. We're gonna start taking some questions if people have them. I have a bunch more questions, but I want to open it up. If anybody
okay.
has any questions for Dr. Sam, just go ahead and throw it in the chat, and we'll get to it. In the meantime, I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of people that are, hesitant to bring on new technologies into their clinics because they think, oh, it's going to be really hard for me to figure out how to use it. It's going to be really difficult for me to, assemble it or whatever. What did you find when you brought StemWave in as far as the ease in which it was to be assembled and to use?
Um, so yeah, we got the shipment. You know, big container. We rolled it out and uh just basically connected a couple pieces to it, plugged it in, and it was all set. It was real easy to assemble. The maintenance of it, we switch out in the head. We switch out the water salt solution on a weekly basis, and um, that's about. I mean, that's about it. You go through your electrodes after so many pulses. Probably we go through probably about once a week. We're going through our electrodes, and um, but no, it was real easy to bring in, um, and turn on, and just kind of become familiar with it. But uh, the screen has the settings, your energy, pulses, and frequency, and you get after practicing on yourself and your staff, and you get a little familiar with what you're doing. It's pretty easy to kind of figure out, and when you're using it on patients, you don't want to start high. You start low, and you kind of ease them into it. And it's pretty. You get very familiar pretty quick with it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Do you remember the first treatment that you did in your clinic with it?
On my staff, myself or my staff, or on a patient.
Yeah, on a patient.
Um, yes, yes. So I used it on. There was a couple. Used it on again. I think it was two. I think it was two individuals the first week. The couple that we had when we had first brought it on. Yeah. So a couple of lower backs. It was a couple lower back cases that we had used. Um, and then
And what was
uh,
their reaction?
I mean, honestly, they thought it felt a little. They thought it was a little. They felt a little different. They weren't necessarily completely sold. So like, okay, that's fine. But that next week, I had someone who she had an arthritic knee, and we used it on her knee, and um, she was basically sold just after getting up and using it. And that, the first couple of times with those first couple of patients, and they were kind of, I was kind of, I was a little, okay, well, how's this going to go? But then, you see that one reaction of a patient, and honestly, majority of patients who are using it, they have that same type of reaction. You get a few handful that are, they're not, I don't know if they're sold or not, um, but you get a lot of patients who you make that impression on, and you gain momentum, and the word spreads, and you start getting more and more. And again, I'd say the majority is you're getting people who are noticing that difference, and are noticing that they're getting some benefit that they haven't had before.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the effect I love seeing, especially when people after that first treatment get that pain reduction right off the bat.
Mhm.
And it always makes me laugh. I've seen it where patients will get their first treatment, and it's such a dramatic pain difference. They almost try to prove to you that it didn't work by bending their body part or whatever and trying to like hurt it again because they're in such disbelief that it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Yes.
So we've got a question coming
Okay.
for you. The question is for plantar fasciitis, neuroma, neuropathy, tendonitis, have you had good response with StemWave?
Yes. Um, we've used it on all those four. Um, the I tell patients we want to shoot for 50% improvement, and if we get extra, that's going to be extra credit there. Um, and we definitely get uh, more than that 50%. Some have gotten to where they've been pain free. We've gotten others who are getting, they get 70, 80% better, but they're impressed with that change, because, that's better than where they were before. But yeah, plantar fasciitis, neuropathy. We had someone who, she had neuropathy with both feet, couldn't feel. She said we did the mapping with her, and with her feet, she stood on our carpet and started walking around, and she said, "Oh, I haven't felt the carpet before with my feet. It's been a long time." So
Oh,
she could tell a difference with the sensation. And it did take a while. We continued those treatments, and she continued to get better. So, but some of those cases, after that initial mapping, they could tell a difference. They could tell a change. But we were able to work with them over the course of the period to get them get them much better. But you said neuropathy and plantar fasciitis, tendonitis, I believe. So we've done some shoulders, some elbows, Achilles, worked on Achilles, calf Achilles, uh, plantar fasciitis, neuromas. Yes, we've been working on those, and that's been helpful. That's been helpful. We're getting some of the pain down. Um,
there's
so,
a follow-up question to that, and it's how long is each treatment and what is the average number of treatments?
um, if we're just doing one area, just one specific region, it's maybe 5 minutes, about 5 minutes long. And if someone has two or three different areas, that might be about you might add about 5 minutes for each. So someone who's coming in with three different spots, we're about 15, 20 minutes, about how long it takes. So we do schedule about every 15 minutes for StemWave follow-ups, I call them. The initial mapping, right now we're just scheduling at the top of the hour, to give us enough time, because that can be anywhere in 15 minutes to 30 minutes long. Um, so having those visits, those follow-up visits afterwards, it kind of, I mean, those, we might have some that are only 5 minutes long. So it kind of equals it out. But yeah, those follow-up visits take about, if you're just doing one area, anywhere from like 3 to 5 minutes that it takes. So it doesn't take very long as far as the actual the actual session goes with StemWave. The conversations, you add couple more minutes to that. Um, but not too long. Doesn't take too very long. Um, I tell patients, we try. It takes anywhere around 8 to 10 visits to really see that improvement. Some specific cases it takes longer, maybe 12, 14 to 16 visits that we've done at most. But on average, about 8 to 10 visits is about how many times that we're scheduling out with patients. Yeah.
Nice. And you mentioned when we first started talking today that you mostly see like you're in a rural area, a lot of blue collar farmers. You mentioned tractor back, which
Uh-huh.
that's a great name for a band. If anyone has a heavy metal band that they need a name for, that's a great name for a band. Have you found StemWave to be effective for tractor back?
For tractor pack. Um, yes, yes. I mean, um, they those individuals, they've been riding. They have that bouncing, they got the irritation, um, and it's helped get them to where their relief is lasting longer. Definitely. So, we've been using we've used it on a few, and uh, their their pain has been, they've got great improvement in their pain, and it's been lasting longer for them than versus, I guess, a traditional adjustment. So they're getting longer relief. They're noticing longer relief with using the stem wave when we started using that on them.
Yeah, and we have providers in all different types of cities and towns. The fact that you mentioned that where you're at, a lot of blue collar, a lot of farmers. Um, how do you find that your patients are able to get on board with StemWave, knowing that it's like not something that insurance covers and that it's mostly cash based? Like, how do you tailor it to your clientele?
Um, so I mean, that's for some, that's kind of a hard conversation to have. But um, at the same time, yeah, insurance isn't picking it up. It's something that they do pay out of pocket. Um, and I'm, I do either, I normally do either a single or a second mapping visit with patients, kind of get them a little, give them a try to see if it is something that they're going to be interested in. Um, and honestly, if they are, if they know you notice a little bit of change, um, they're going to be on board. And um, I was kind of wondering about that when first bringing on StemWave with it being, patient responsibility, they're paying out of pocket. Um, but majority of those have, I was, I guess, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a difficult sell. However, majority they're on board. And so for some, price is a factor uh, where they may decide they don't want to do it. But uh, at, but I mean, that's something that we're kind of looking at different options for those patients. So where maybe we present it and give them, different options for payments and work with them. But honestly, just being straightforward after the couple mappings and they're on board with it, I present to them what it is what for them to expect over, treatment frequency, number of visits, what the price is going to be. Offer them a little bit of a discount if they do decide to, if they want to pay for those visits just up front. Give a little bit of a 10% discount for them. Um, but honestly, they're those people who I thought, well, it's going to be maybe a little bit of a hard sell. Um, but the stem wave, uh, they feel the difference and they're on board. Yeah, it hasn't. I haven't really had to be the salesman because StemWave has done it for me. So it's just you present to them what the expectation is, and they're pretty much on board. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
good.
I think that's right too. I mean, we have a lot of, potential providers that maybe are hesitant because they're in a smaller market. Maybe they,
Mm.
are also like in an area where there's more blue collar, more people that wouldn't necessarily like want to jump on board with something like this, especially if it's out of pocket. But I think that's a good point that if you make your introductory treatment, your mapping session, something that's easy for them to do, they see the proofs in the pudding and they understand like, oh, this is really going to help me. And then it makes it a little bit more digestible to be able to continue on with their treatment plans.
Oh yes, yeah. So and definitely worth it for them because if they're able to decrease their pain and get better and not be set back because of it, definitely it's definitely worth it to them. And compared to other options outside different services, medical options, I don't think it's again, I don't think it's I think there's other options that are going to be priced more, and I don't think it's StemWave is our sessions are not overpriced.
Yeah, it's still
Definitely.
within the realm of what they'd find elsewhere if they were going to do another type of
Oh yeah.
modality. But
Yes.
StemWave's highly more effective.
Yes. Yes.
We got another question, more technical question. So, or I guess more medical related question. Um, for somebody who's received treatment for Achilles tendonitis, what would a patient do at home between treatments, if anything?
Between their visits, so um, they don't have to do it right away after a session, but encourage icing and stretching, strengthening uh, of that area of that region. Good good footwear, making sure you have good support. Um, but having patients I mean, uh, that's part of with using StemWave when you're helping people get better is making sure that it's not necessarily just StemWave that's going to be it's going to help, but they got stuff that they got to do at home too that their homework that they need to do to get better to help the process.
Right. But I think it's good to mention that obviously, if people don't realize this, stem wave is a non-invasive treatment. So there's not much that someone has to do to help the stem wave on their own. Stem wave is going to do what it does. It's non-invasive, so you don't have to worry about making sure things are covered or wrapped or anything like that. But yeah,
Yep,
you're right. Like just making sure you're taking care of yourself. I think it would probably be foolish for somebody who's getting Achilles tendonitis treatment with StemWave to immediately after the StemWave treatment go run a marathon. That probably wouldn't be smart.
correct. Yes, yeah.
Awesome. We're gonna wrap up here in a second. One final question for you. Um, you talked about the immediate results you were seeing with StemWave and how your patient list started to grow right away, much sooner than you needed with the 60 days. Do you think that one StemWave device is enough for you, or in the future, can you imagine a practice where you have so many patients that you're going to need more?
I think I definitely think there's potential and I inquired about it with a second machine already. I am 3.5 months in, and again at the very beginning, I was thinking, okay, well we're going to see how this process goes and see how fast this takes off. And honestly, it took off a lot faster than what I thought, and so now, yeah, thinking of what kind of what it would look like to have two machines going, two stem waves. Um, definitely an option on the table that would be I think is eventually we're going to get to that point. And so
See it,
and
yeah.
just kind of figuring out again logistics and flow and being able to help with managing that.
Yeah, I mean, we have some providers where they've opened separate clinics just for StemWave because of how effective and how quick you can get patients in and out and treat them effectively.
Hmm. Correct. Yes. Yeah.
That's
So yeah, there's definitely potential for that.
That's awesome. Well, look, we've talked about a lot today. We talked about, you know, how you started, what got you to the STEM wave point, how effective it's been so quickly for you. It's a great success story. Um, all of the different stories you shared about how STEM wave has helped your patients in some pretty miraculous ways. I love those stories. That really is what drives us here at STEM wave is to know how patients are really benefiting from it. So anybody who's listening to this live Q&A, if you're interested in StemWave, if you're interested in the type of results that you're hearing Dr. Sam talk about with his patients, a non-invasive way to eradicate pain and really help treat these people that have been dealing with things chronically, it's really simple. You can go on our website, stemwave.com. I just threw it in the chat right now. You can book a call with our team. Dr. Sam talked about what his experience was like with our team talking to them. It's very conversational. They're just going to ask you a lot of questions about your practice to find out if StemWave is right for you. And just so everyone knows, we don't work with everybody. We want to make sure this is something that's going to work for you and your practice. But for those that decide to take the leap and try out StemWave again, it's a 60-day trial. We will place it in your clinic. You can try it for 60 days for a lot of our providers, like Dr. Sam mentioned, he started seeing incredible results by bringing in new patients just after, a couple of weeks. So 60 days is a good amount of time. And if for whatever reason you don't like it, you don't think it works, you can send it back. You don't have to pay for it. But again, we have a 98% success rate. So that hardly ever happens. And there's a reason for that. It's because this device is incredible. It works. We know what we're doing here at StemWave. And so book a call with our team, stemwave.com, and we'll get you rolled in. Dr. Sam, it was so great having you on today and talking with you and hearing your story with StemWave. After only 5.5 months, the success that you're seeing is inspiring. And I hope that for anybody that's watching this, it inspires them to try to, for themselves also have such great success with StemWave. And I'm excited to check back in with you in another 5.5 months and hear about all the great stories you have about your StemWave journey.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I appreciate being able to share my story and uh, just being able to help where I can. Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care. Thanks again and continued success with StemWave.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.